So you've probably seen it all over your feed. A ton of noise online about a major GPT-6 leak from OpenAI. Well, we're going to cut through all that chatter and break down what's actually real and what's just, well, hype. Let's get right into it.
This is the big question, right? The one that's been grabbing all the headlines. Did OpenAI really, truly just leak GPT-6? And the answer? Well, it's not quite a simple yes or no. The short answer is, kinda. See, what actually hit the web isn't some secret source code or a bunch of model weights. It's a peek into an internal strategy document, which, when you combine it with some on-the-record hints from CEO Sam Altman, things start to get interesting. So in this explainer, we are going to separate the cold, hard facts from the fan fiction so you know exactly what's going on.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the so-called leak itself. It is absolutely crucial to understand that we are talking about product direction here, not the nitty-gritty technical specs of a new model. So this is the core of it. The document is titled ChatGPT H1 2025 Strategy, and it came out during the Google antitrust case. It basically lays out this vision for a super assistant by 2025. And the key goals here are all about agentic tasks, which just means it can do multi-step things for you, understanding all kinds of media, and most importantly, deeply personalizing the experience by actually using your computer.
So, when you put it all together, the end goal is an assistant that has a real memory, one that actually remembers what you like, what you don't, and can handle complex jobs without you having to prompt it over and over again. This shows a super clear direction they're headed in, and what do you know, it lines up perfectly with what OpenAI's leadership has been saying out in the open.
So, how does this leaked strategy really stack up against OpenAI's official word? Well, Sam Altman has been pretty upfront that GPT-6 is already in motion. He's even suggested it'll probably get here faster than the gap we saw between the last few models.
And what's the one feature he keeps hammering home? Memory. He's on the record saying people want memory. And we're not just talking about remembering the last sentence in your chat. No. We're talking about persistent, user-level memory, the kind that makes the assistant feel truly personal and finally gets rid of that annoying feeling of starting from scratch every single time.
So the official company line really confirms this focus on the user experience. It's all about the direction, personalization, memory, not about boring technical specs, like how many parameters it has or what its benchmark scores are. The real focus is on what the next model is going to do for you.
Okay, before we dive into the wild rumors, let's lock down what I like to call the boring but important paper trail. This is the hard evidence, the stuff that shows us what OpenAI's long-term intentions really are.
And hey, check this out. OpenAI filed trademarks for GPT-6 here in the US way back in 2023. And at the same time, over in China, they filed for both GPT-6 and GPT-7. Now look, trademarks don't confirm features or give us a release date, but they are a crystal clear signal that they fully intend to use these names down the road.
Another key piece of their strategy you should know about is this plan to release an open weight model. Now, this is different from open source. Open weight lets developers take a pre-trained model and tweak it for their own purposes, but without getting the keys to the entire kingdom, the full code. It's just another piece of the puzzle that shows how they're planning to work with the developer community moving forward.
All right, now for the spicy part. Let's talk about those rumors you've probably seen flying all over social media, and more importantly, what the real risks are that we should all be keeping an eye on.
This is the big one. I'm sure you've seen the posts. They claim to have inside info, saying that training for GPT-6 is already happening on this absolutely massive scale, with something like over 100,000 GPUs. And yeah, this has been fueling a ton of speculation. But here is the reality check. As of right now, that is completely 100% unverified. There's been zero confirmation from OpenAI. It hasn't been backed up by any major, reputable news outlets. So for now, you really have to treat it as just unconfirmed chatter. The real story here is the direction they're going, not some specific unverified detail.
So instead of getting bogged down in those unverified rumors, let's focus on the actual, tangible challenges that this new direction brings with it. There are three critical risks we all need to be watching: privacy, transparency, and just the sheer scale of the computing power that's going to be required.
Let's break these down, because this whole super assistant idea really amplifies each one. First, privacy. An AI with a perfect persistent memory is useful, sure, but the trust implications of it remembering every sensitive thing about you, they're huge. Second, transparency.
With a personal agent acting on your behalf, knowing exactly what model is doing the work becomes critical. And finally, compute. The infrastructure needed for this vision is just massive, and making that reliable at scale is a serious challenge.
So let's wrap all this up. After everything we've talked about, what does this actually mean for you? Here's your quick guide for how to think about the whole GPT-6 story.
Here is exactly what you should take away from all this. First, believe the direction. Memory, deep personalization, agent-like actions, that is clearly the future they're building. Second, be very skeptical of specific training timelines and GPU counts until they are officially verified. And third, keep a really close eye on how they handle privacy controls and safety disclosures as these new products start to roll out.
And that leads us with one final and pretty critical question to think about. As we move into this future of truly personalized AI, what should the default setting be? Should an AI remember you automatically, all the time, or only when you explicitly ask it to? It's a big question, and it's something we're all going to need to consider.